Hey YouTube, what's up? Big Z here. Week 16 NFL. We have boiled everything down to our 4 selections for this very important week. Pivotal for many teams. Some teams it was pivotal already. But first, let's have a recap. Week 15, how did we do? We went 2-2. Better than last week at least. Won 2 picks, lost 2 picks, 1 regular, 1 big money pick on each side, winner and loser. Thank goodness for San Francisco coming through. Thank goodness to the Los Angeles Rams coming through, taking care of their business. We got surprised by Carolina. Division game at home. Should have known better versus a inconsistent Atlanta offense. Yup, I wonder how many survival games were won or lost on that Atlanta-Carolina game. I bet you some people became champions because of it. Anyway, moving forward, Week 16 installment, Big Z Cash City picks, and we are taking a close look, trying to get back into Cash City, trying to get that money back. We gotta look right, we gotta sound right. And the first game I take a look at is New Orleans on the road to Los Angeles against the Rams. Point spread is -4 points today, and what do we see? I see New Orleans as a team, yes, on the bubble, maybe trying to dream of getting into the hunt and trying to find its way into the playoffs, but I don't think so. They are too inconsistent. Yeah, they won their last 2 games, and that makes people look at them different, but really, they won against the Giants and they won against the Panthers. Carr against the Panthers threw 119 yards and 2 touchdowns. 119 yards? You can't do that against the Rams. And yeah, he played well in New York, but it's New York. Those are 2 wins that aren't anything to brag about. 3 weeks ago, they took a loss against a decent and inconsistent at the time Detroit. Detroit's semi-decent, but Detroit also has low-quality wins against its low-quality opponents, I think. All those W's stack up to not a lot of quality wins. I take a look at the Rams on the other hand. Last week, the Rams did win. That game was won before the 4th quarter. I mean, yeah, they allowed 20 points, but 2 of those touchdowns were in trash time to Washington. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, they had a tough loss to the Ravens. That could have been anybody's game. That punt return was wild at the end of in overtime even, against the Ravens. And remember this, they put up 31 points against the Ravens, who are people talking about a team that's going to the Super Bowl. Putting up 31 points on that kind of caliber team tells you something about your quarterback and your offense. Speaking of which, Matt Stafford throwing very well, connecting and finding his timing with his receivers. I mean, Cooper Kupp has been back on fire for 2 games in a row now, over 110 yards, and a touchdown in each of those last 2 games. Running back Kyren Williams, he's a running force to be reckoned with. I don't think New Orleans is going to be able to handle that running game. I say, let's go 1 unit, Los Angeles Rams to cover 4 points, no problem. Get us to Cash City. For our next ticket to Cash City, we're going to take a look at the Cincinnati-Pittsburgh game. Yeah, it's a division game, I know. And Cincinnati is on the road, -2 points, because they are the favorite. Pittsburgh, what? Is a team that's on the bubble, trying to get into the hunt. We've seen this season that they're not the traditional Steelers we've come to know throughout the last few years. They are rebuilding. They have Trubisky as quarterback. 3 losses in a row, including to Arizona and New England the past 3 weeks. Yeah, you can pass on Cincinnati, but like I said, it's Trubisky as the Pittsburgh quarterback. Last week, Pittsburgh lost to Indy 13-30. Indy does have somewhat of a defense, but Trubisky was unable to keep his team in the game. Coincidentally, Indianapolis played Cincy not too long ago, 2 weeks ago maybe. Against the same opponent, Cincinnati took care of that game versus Indy 34-14. What does that tell you? There's an offense-powered team on one side of the coin versus Pittsburgh lacking in offense. Cincinnati is legitimately in the hunt. They got 3 wins in a row versus teams with more legitimate playoff aspirations, that being Minnesota, Indy, and Jacksonville, all in the hunt, trying to make their case to get into the playoffs. Browning last week had another 300-plus yard game. This past week he threw for 324 yards and 2 touchdowns. And that was after waking up in the second half of the game. Browning was a little mesmerized in the first half of that game last week. He knows how to move the ball. He got the ball to 9 different receivers, 2 catches or more each. He knows how to spread that ball and create offense. These are 2 teams that are 8-7, but we can clearly see they're headed in opposite directions. Give me Cincinnati minus 2 points. Big money pick. Big Z says 2 units. Let's go to Cash City, where they pay the man. Next game we're taking a closer look at, ladies and gentlemen, is Buffalo on the road visiting the Los Angeles Chargers. Buffalo is favored by 12 points. And I'll tell you what, this is going to be a big money pick. Why? The Chargers look like a team that are ready for next season. Keenan Allen is not 100%. The offense can't move the ball the way they're used to. The Chargers have not beat a significant team in the last 5 games, so they're hurting. Are they going to have a bounce back game after that 63-21 romping by the Raiders last week? I don't think so, not against Buffalo. Buffalo Bills are awake and are finding W's, and that's without Josh Allen throwing the way we know he can throw. The Buffalo Bills are not a team who want to stay in the hunt. They want to be in the playoffs. They're coming full steam ahead. Be ready. Minus 12 points gets covered, no problem. Take Buffalo, big money, 2 units. Let's go to Cash City. And last but not least, this brings us to our 4th and final pick for Week 16. Cash City Picks is looking at the Cleveland game. Cleveland at Houston. Why? Because look at this matchup. Yes, Cleveland is favored. Houston is at home, but Houston is at home without a quarterback. No CJ Stroud. Houston has a poor run defense, among the poorest performing defenses in the NFL, as well as a poor pass defense to match that up. And what do I see? I see a Houston team that barely beat Tennessee last week. Case Keenum, he did okay, but versus Tennessee defense, okay? What's he going to do when he's faced with the Cleveland's defense? The Cleveland defense is a top-rated defense still. I worry for Case Keenum. CJ Stroud, if he plays, and I highly doubt it that he plays, he won't be 100%. I'm counting on Cleveland Browns. Look at their replacement quarterback, Flacco, seasoned veteran. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to take advantage of his receivers. He had another 300-yard game last week, throwing 2 TDs and 374 yards. That was against the Chicago defense, one of the better defenses in the NFL. So if he could do that to that defense, what is he going to do to Houston? 2 weeks ago, he threw for 3 touchdowns and 374 yards versus 311 yards, versus Jacksonville. Jacksonville is a playoff team for all intents and purposes. Flacco versus Houston. I'm putting my faith in it. I'm putting what I see in it. I'm putting a whole unit into it. Take Cleveland. The Browns cover. 2.5 points, no problem. Let's go Cash City, where they pay the man.